Mike, I've tried over the years to get a deposit or money up front, and it hasn't worked for me. Are there any alternatives to get a greater commitment from the client? Okay, so one, if it's not working, if you've been trying for years, my experience is you might be in too much of a quote unquote pitch mode, meaning the reason I need a retainer is I need to be compensated for my time. I want to get paid for my work. I need to invest in the resources. All those are true, but not largely relevant to the person would want to pay a retainer or a deposit. It's you've got to always come from the concept of why is it in their best interest? And to do that, it really requires you digging and uncovering why the position is remain open and the cost of the position, both financially and emotionally, to the hiring manager for that position remaining open. It's interesting that I find that most hiring managers actually don't know the cost of the position remaining opening. But if you can keep them engaged on the phone long enough, they start to see, because every position has an economic benefit to filling it, even if it's an administrative position. It is, or sometimes it's a compliance issue, or engineering, it's the launch of a project, sales, it's obvious, it's revenue. Any delay in hiring that position, if they've deemed it important, has an economic consequence. And one needs to come up with that. But even if you do everything right, to help you out here, is, companies, some have paid deposits, didn't get the results because the firms didn't produce. And some people just have never done it at certain position levels. And if you get somebody that has urgency, and maybe for whatever reason they can't get the approval or they can't get it quickly, there's a concept I coined that I used a long time ago called getting a reverse retainer. Getting a reverse retainer. What I typically do in that scenario is I say to the prospect who probably it looks like they want to work with you, they just don't want to pay a retainer, is I've said to them, if I did everything I promised the way I promised to do it, and you knew that in advance, would you be comfortable paying a deposit in the future if I proved that I could deliver? And a lot of times they'll say yes, because the one big hesitancy in paying money up front is they don't know you, right? And will you perform for them? A way I got over that was if I could get them to say they would be open to that in the future versus the person that goes, look, I'm a contingency guy. I work contingency 100% of the time. This is how you're going to do business with me if you want to do business. Okay, we have a business decision to make, number one. Number two is if they are sincere, if they are sincere, is say, well, look, I've got an idea. I'm going to do everything I promised you to do on retainer. I'm going to put together a list of 60, 70 individuals. I'm going to go through that list 7 times. I'll be able to provide a minimum of 3 candidates within 30 days that have two criteria. They're probably in the top 15 or 20% of their profession, and I've identified at least 2 areas where they would make a move, a motivation to make a move. If I do all that, our fee is blank. And if you cancel the position or fill it internally after I've done all that, you'll pay me a consulting fee of $7,000. Is that fair? What I found is that's a way to break into getting a deposit with some companies. And I'll say, I'll do that on this one. And if at the end of the search, and I did my job and we filled the openings, what I'm going to ask is, I know it's a process, is we go to the money upfront route because we've already proved the model. And there won't be any urgency because after you fill this, there probably won't be an opening straight away right after. Worst case with one company, I remember I never negotiated that on the front end. Our relationship, and we did over $1 million in revenue with them over a course of several years, was they never paid us up front. But if we didn't fill the position, they paid us the deposit on the back end as a consulting fee. So that's a great idea as a happy medium for a deposit because you will get paid for your work as long as you produce the talent. And I never had a company that came to that agreement with me that refused to pay me the consulting fee at the end. Usually, again, if you do a good job, the employer feels a little bit guilty anyway because if they filled it internally or if they canceled it, they know all the work you went through. And the only objection you'll get in those situations sometimes is you send me 3 candidates and I want to see more. I said 3 candidates is a minimum guarantee. Let me ask you, if I only sent you 3 candidates and I said, I've done my job, I'm not going to send any more, how likely are you to use me in the future on any other openings? They go, I wouldn't. And I go, I wouldn't either. But I've got to give you a minimum expectation of performance. I'm going to work on this until it's filled, right? I'm going to work on this until it's filled because we have a mutual commitment. We have a shared proposal in that you're guaranteeing me a consulting fee if I get you 3 candidates, and I'm really putting all of our profit on my ability to perform. And I found with the people that are sincere on wanting to work with you and under very good terms, that's a great segue.